Hey guys, Papa Pete here, and today I want to go back and take another look at the Amico because I've been sitting and thinking there's so many great Intellivision games that I played when I was a kid, and I saw that last trailer that came out, and it showed some adaptations of some great games from the past, so I got thinking, what are 5 games that I'd love to see remade for the Amico today? I love the old version, but maybe they could do something special with the new version. Anyway, sit right back. We're about to show you 5 games that I'd love to see adapted for the Amico. Stick around.
Papa Pete, the old ass gamer. Papa Pete, the old ass gamer. If you haven't grown up by the age of 50, you don't have to.
Alright guys, first of all, I want to qualify it this way. I'm just going to look at the old Intellivision games that I had when I was a kid, some of my favorites. I'm not going to worry about licensing. Maybe you can adapt them so it's not the same license, or maybe you can get the license, I don't care. But these are just games that I really would like to see improved or brought up to a modern standard, but somehow try to maintain the great fun that the gameplay was back in the day. Again, these are all games that were really special to me when I was a kid, and I'm really trying to focus more on things that are very special to the Intellivision. I'm not saying necessarily that it has to be unique to the Intellivision, but I am saying it's those games which might be a little bit more special. I'm going to tell you right now, Pac-Man's on the list, for example. I mean, there's 1,000 different Pac-Man clones out there, so what's so special about that? I'm talking about things that you can only play in the Intellivision that really deserve a second look today and an improvement. Let's start. Okay guys, I said I didn't care about licensing to start with, so I'm going to start right off with a heavy hitter. This is Tron Deadly Discs. Yes, the Tron license belongs to Disney. It'd be really hard to get it, and I don't know how you can adapt it and say it's something different than that. Boy, I hope they can get it, because the Tron games were special. They're very, very special on Intellivision, and frankly, this was my favorite of the 3. I played all 3. I actually beat all 3, I believe. Well, as much as you can beat this, but the goal was to get over 1 million points. And this is a game that I can put in and I can still play today. Do you want to change the gameplay a whole lot? Not really. Just somehow maybe get some graphical improvements, and I really think it would be amazing on the Amico. I think it would be great side by side. Play a game original and then play a game of the new and improved. Tron Deadly Disc on a lot of people's favorite list. So the next one I'm going to show you is a really special, very unique Intellivision game, and if you watch the first trailer, it's considered the first God game ever made, and it is Utopia for the Intellivision. I got both copies here. I've also got the Sears Super Video Arcade version, because this is actually the one we had when I was a kid. I got this one later on just for my collection, but it's the same game, and it's just such a great game where you have 2 different islands. It was a 2-player game, but 1 player could play it. It was a 2-player game where you bought things and built things for your island, trying to get more evolved than the other island. Now, when you played 1 player, you just basically took care of your own island. The other island just sort of fell into disrepair. But there's other aspects of it. There's fishing boats. You tried to fish to get gold, to buy things. You had to have rain and storms that went over top of your crops on your island, and that gave you money. Then there was hurricanes that would go through, and they destroy buildings. They had schools and hospitals and just so many different things. It really was a neat game back in the day. If you haven't checked it out, take a few minutes. This is one that you probably will need the instructions and will need the overlays for. And it'll be a lot of fun to play 2-player, but it would also be great to finally get an AI computerized version of this game that you could play against the computer. You could play the 1-player version against somebody instead of just having it fill up with rebels. But anyway, Utopia. I'd love to see it on the Amico. The next game I'd love to see on the Amico might not be one that you would pick right off, but for me, it is Bomb Squad. Bomb Squad, one of the Intellivoice games, only the 4 Intellivoice games, is the first Intellivoice game that I'm going to pick. I don't know, am I going to be able to stick to just 5? For this video I am. Will I have to go somewhere else? Maybe I'll have to do another one later. But for now, Bomb Squad. Bomb Squad is really kind of notorious because it's the game that they sent to Mexico, hundreds and thousands of copies to sell in Mexico. They sold them cheap and didn't have IntelliVoices down there, so you can't play this game without the IntelliVoice. It's really kind of a neat game where you're the Bomb Squad, and you have Frank helping you out, giving you commands of how to repair the different circuits, to find out the code, to defuse the bomb, and meanwhile Boris, the bad guy, is taunting you the whole time, and it really can be a pretty frantic game. Someday I think I'm going to do a review of this game where I sit and do some gameplay. I'm going to be quite frank, no pun intended. I never did play this game at the super hard difficulties because, frankly, the basic levels are hard enough. But it really is a game that not many people have looked at. It's very complicated. You can't just pick it up. You really have to read the instructions, and you have to have the overlays as well, or memorize the layout on the keypad. Anyway, it would be a great addition to the Amico Bomb Squad. So I said I wanted to have kind of unique games to the Intellivision, not just ports of arcade games and stuff that were on the Intellivision, but really unique games to the system itself. And one of those, an all-time classic, is Sea Battle. Episode 8 of the Intellivisionairies Podcast is all about this game right here, and I highly recommend it. It's a great show, and man, they talk a lot about Sea Battle, let me tell you. But if you haven't played it, again, the old days, they didn't have the AI, it was a 2-player game, and you had a fleet of ships. All kinds of different ships, submarines, PT boats, battleships, destroyers, minesweepers, mine layers. Did I say PT boat? Anyways, about 8 different types of ships, and some of them you had multiples. And you could deploy little fleets, smaller fleets out, and you had a big static map, which was the same every time you played. And you could send these fleets out throughout, and the object of the game was to get either your aircraft carrier or your troop transport into the other person's harbor. It's actually a pretty ambitious game for back in the day. Every ship had different traits, different speeds, different ranges, different types of weapons, and you would go up against the other team's squadron, and it just was an incredibly fun game. But I tell you, it was a lot of the times back in those days, it was hard to find somebody to play against. So would I like to see this on the Amico? Yes, because it's an Intellivision classic, and you could probably incorporate a 1-player game into it. Or, at the very least, incorporate some way that you could play it online, through a server, and then 2 people could play together that way. But it's a classic game, it's a beautiful game. As it is, it could be that much better on the Amico. Sea Battle. And also I got the Sears Super Video Arcade version. Man, I love all the Sears games, I'll tell you that. This is actually the original one that I had. Didn't have this, picked this one up later on. But still, gotta love both of them. Sea Battle, a classic Intellivision game. So the last pick I have today, I don't know if these are in any particular order, but this is a very, very important Intellivision game. It's an all-time classic as far as I'm concerned. It's one of the very first games that my brother-in-law bought with his Intellivision back in 1980. And this is actually the game that he bought back in 1980 to go with it. It's the Sears Super Video Arcade version of Space Battle. Now, there's 3 different versions of Space Battle actually. There's a Sears one. Then there was also a Space Network version and an Action Network version. When they brought it out with the Action Network at the start, they didn't really realize how much space they were going to get into, so they quickly took it out of the Action Network and brought it over to the Space Network, which makes perfect sense. So I won't say this is more rare, the red one. It isn't neither one of these, or all 3 of them really. This is a little bit more because it's Sears. They aren't very expensive games today. But I'll tell you one thing they are, is they're great, classic, 1-player games. And it's kind of neat, you look at them, it is actually modeled after Battlestar Galactica back in the time, but they lost the license just before they went into it, so they left the ships and stuff resembling the Cylon Warriors in Battlestar Galactica, but they just took all the naming out of it and just called it Space Battle. It's really a great game. If you haven't played it, it's a lot of fun. When you think about the era that it came out in, the graphics are good, the gameplay is better, and it's just a lot of fun. And it is a game that you can win. So if you brought this back for the Amico today, not only would it be a lot of fun, and not only could you improve the graphics, try to maintain the gameplay, but improve the graphics just to make it look better, you never know. Maybe you could go back, and originally it wanted to be a Battlestar Galactica game. Maybe you could get that license and release it as such. I don't know, Tommy. Maybe it'd be a good idea. Give it a shot. Maybe it's too expensive. Maybe it's not worth it. But at the end of the day, that was the initial idea. And I'd love to see Space Battle on the Amico. Alright guys, here they are, the 5 games that I want to see on the Amico. I don't think these are really the only 5 games that I want to see on the Amico, but these are the 5 I picked for now. They're all unique games in Intellivision. It'll be great to see all of them improved and brought back for the first time in 35 years onto the Amico. Anyway guys, thanks for spending a little bit of time with me today. Don't forget to hit like, comment, subscribe, and take care. We'll see you next time.
Papa Pete, the old ass gamer. Papa Pete, the old ass gamer.
Hey, it's Paul Nerman or Nermix from the Intellivisionairies Podcast. I'm also part of the Amico development team. And you're watching Papa Pete, the old guy gamer.
What the